Hello everyone, Colin Canet here. A couple of videos ago I made a tenoning jig, and that's for making tenons for joints for tenons. And of course these go into mortises, and a number of you asked, well, now that you've showed us how to make a tenoning jig, you should show us how to make a mortising jig. And so that's what the video is today. And if you're new to the channel, we invite you to subscribe, because today we're going to show you how to make this mortising jig for the router. Now there's lots of ways to make mortises. You can cut them by hand, you can use a drill press, you can use a chisel, lots of different ways. What I'm going to do, and the way I prefer to make mortises, quick and easy and good quality straight edges, is with the router. So we're going to make a router jig today that's going to replace the base on our existing router. To start off, I've marked an X in the middle of my hardboard here, which is about 8 by 12 inches, and I'm going to use my router to make a hole in that as a reference point. Now I'm going to use my hole saw, which is almost the same size as the hole in the bottom of the router plate, and I'll make that hole in my new plate. I've just taken a minute to take the plate off the bottom of my router, because now I can use it as a template on my new router base. And what I've done, I've just taken a minute to mark some holes, and I've drilled them all the way through, and you can barely see them on this side, because now I need to take and make some recessed holes in here to mount these screws to. So we'll go over to the table or the drill press and we'll drill those holes out. Now I have to drill the through holes through each one of the recessed holes that I've just made. Well, let's see if this all comes together. There's a lot of pretty precise holes here, and I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of them or so are not exactly perfect. We'll try it anyway. Okay, so I put those holes in there, and that sits nice and flush. You can see it's nice and flush, and all the screw holes line up. So the next thing I need to do now is to just cut some slots, and we'll go over to the router table to do that. To attach the wooden strips to the base plate that I'm making, I'm going to be using these hanger bolts, and you've seen me use these before. They're machine thread on one side and wood screw thread on the other side. So to make the slot, I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch carbide bit that happens to be exactly the same diameter as the machine thread. So there's how our jig is going to sit. The router will sit on here. What I need to do right now is to find the center, and I've just drawn a rough line, and all I'm going to do is use my marking gauge and flip it around on each side, and that will show me exactly where the center of that board is, right between those two lines. I'm just using my awl to make sure that the bit doesn't wander when I put it in there. Yeah, that worked good. So I've selected my piece of wood that I want to cut a mortise in, and I've just marked it, and you can see the little square, the start and the stop, and they're just arbitrary because it's just a demonstration. Then I used my marking bar to mark a 1/4 inch on each side. You could also use a marking gauge. I normally would use a marking gauge, but this was handy and quick and easy. Now I need to set up the router so that the bit is going to be on the center of those lines. Okay, that's all set up. Let's do our miter slot. Let's take that off there and show you what that looks like. Well, that concludes my video on making the mortising jig for the router. And if you're interested in making one of these for yourselves, you'll be able to check out the details on Woodwork Web, and the link for the article will be in the description box under this video. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Don't forget to subscribe. Lots more videos coming.